Hi there, and welcome to Critters'n Ink Designs. My name is Lisa, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Ontario. And today, I actually have a guest stamper, my good friend Doreen, who is also a demonstrator here in Ontario. And she's going to do a really cute little card using the Sweet Stockings bundle today for you. So I hope you enjoy it. Go ahead, Doreen.
Well, thank you, Lisa. It's been a wonderful card making weekend. We're celebrating Card Making Day, which was yesterday, October 2nd. We're going to use this really cute little stamp set called Sweet Little Stockings to make this adorable, I just put this aside, to make this adorable little card here with our kitty cat in its stocking, a nice sentiment inside, as well, of course, our envelope. I love the papers that come with this collection. There is lots of cute little prints. This is the one we're using today, and on the reverse side is this wonderful little stripy print. So lots of cute little, oh, I love the lights. I've already used up all my lights. So, and then the different colors that go with it. This is a great suggestion for people who want to know what colors to go with what paper, is to do these little sample sheets up. So today we're going to use our stamparatus to create this card because the kitty cat is layered. And we want to make sure that we get the hat, the head, and the stocking in the right order. And we want to, what we call, mask the cat and the hat and so on to ensure that there's no lines through it. And you'll see what I mean in a moment when I start getting ready for this technique. Just going to move this over so that the light is not in it. And Lisa, if we could zoom in a little bit.
Sure.
Great having a camera operator. Perfect, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can see, I'll just open my stamparatus. You can see this is the grid paper that you can buy extra with the stamparatus. And I have marked 3 inches by 4 1/4. And I'll go over the sizes of the papers in just a second. That is the size of the paper here on my card that we're going to do the stamping on. Our card base is cherry cobbler, and it's cut at 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, scored at 4 1/4. Our DSP, which is from the Sweet Stockings bundle, is cut at 4 by 5 1/4. And just make sure, because we have directional fabric, sorry, I'm also sore, directional print, that you cut it the right way. There's been a few creative card making moments for me when I've cut it the wrong way. Our basic white for the front is cut at 3 by 4 1/4 inches, and that's the one we're going to use today. Oh, and you can see I did mark it in error here. So let me just take one of my markers. I obviously can't count to 4. I'll just put an X through that so I know. And I don't want to mark it while the card is down because it could bleed into the edge of the card. So now our card is going to fit here. Now we don't want to set everything up with the cardstock here because we really don't want to waste a piece of cardstock that we could use on our card making. For the inside, we're going to cut it 4 by 5 1/4. And I think I cut that wrong, so maybe Lisa will check that for me.
Sure.
So what we're going to do is figure out the layout. And we're going to get the stamps we're going to use. And the stamps we're going to use are the stocking, now I've even drawn the lines down so I have a better visual. It's whatever you want that makes it easier for you. It's all about being ease. I'm going to get my kitty cat head and I'm going to line it up on the stamp. It doesn't sit right like this just because of the stamps on top of a stamp, but you get the positioning where you want it to be. And the hat I'm going to put on. Now you can put the hat crooked so it's sort of off one ear. I think that's what we're going to do on this one. Let's shake it up a little bit as
On a rakish tilt.
On a rakish tilt. So I'm going to take my stamping plate and I'm going to put it here. And I want to make sure before I stamp it down that my sentiment is going to fit and that my present is going to fit. At this point, I can now adjust anything I need to, so I could slide everything over a little bit, either into the card or out of the card, but it looks good. So I'm just going to remove these two elements. I'm just going to lightly tap down and it should just pick up. Sometimes it picks up all three, but I'm just going to ease the cat off and have the hat on. I'm going to remove the cat and the stocking for a moment. I'm going to take my Memento ink and I'm going to stamp the hat. And I'm just going to give it a quick little press down, and you can see now that's where the hat is going to be on my basic white card. I'm going to put the cat down. Remember, we wanted the cat a little crooked on the head. I'm going to flip my stamparatus plate, went brain fog for a moment, around so that the hat is on the one side, the cat will be on the other side. It gives you 4 stamping positions or 4 stamp options. I'm going to pick up the cat. Now if the paper, moves like mine has here, I'm just going to take that off for a second, just pick up the one magnet. This magnet is holding it in place. And with the markings, I know where to put everything. So I'm going to ink up my cat. I'm just inking it like this because I have the camera stand and everything here. So normally I would just lay the plate back and ink it. I'm going to stamp my cat and pick it up. So you can see
That's so cute.
that the cat and the hat have lines through them. It's okay, but we want it just that bit better. So now I'm just going to take this off because everything's shifting on the camera here. I'm going to take my stocking and line it up where I want it to be on the paws. I'm going to take my second plate. And what's nice about the stamparatus is it has 2 hinges so we can keep the plates on. Pick up the stamp. And if I need to shove the paper over or push it over just ever so slightly, I can pick up that magnet. Knowing that the paper's in the corner, I'm going to be lined up every time. Then I'm going to ink up my stocking and I'm going to press my stocking down. By testing it out on the paper here, you can see if your lining up is working for you. Do I need to readjust before I go live, as they say? And I think I like the layout. But I don't like the lines through the cat. I don't like the hat lines on the cat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a post-it note or sticky paper. And you want to make sure that the sticky part is used where you want the masking to happen. So in this case, because I have the cat ready to go, I'm going to put this over where the cat is and making sure the sticky is on the paw area. I'm going to ink up my cat again. Ensuring my plate is on. And I'm going to stamp on the post-it note. Just take that off for a second. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim away all around the cat. Oh, look, magic of video. Trim all the way around the cat. This time, seeing that the hat is going to be sort of in this area of the cat, I may want to trim a bit more just in case I'm not quite. It could shift a hair, and I want to make sure that everything's fine. So there's my cat. So now you can see it's going to mask where I need it. I'm going to put that right there. I've done the same for the hat. I've stamped the hat onto a post-it note, and then I've trimmed out where I think I need, where I want, say, the cat stamp to show through. This is from my first version, so I save time. So now that's done. So now we can go to our cardstock. We can put our cardstock down. We're going to put the magnet nowhere near where we're stamping because you don't want to stamp on your magnet. We're going to stamp the hat first. And it does take a few minutes of figuring out the layering. And this is what I did, is I stamped what I wanted, like we just did, on the paper. And then I kind of figured out the order I needed to stamp and mask. So I'm going to stamp my hat down. And then I put my masks on the stamparatus because then I remember to use them. When I put them over on the side here, I don't see them and I forget about them, and I've had some learning experiences. So I'm going to take my cat part, I'm going to ink my cat up. What I like about the stamparatus, if I didn't get a great stamp the first time, I can restamp because everything's going to stay in place. So now I'm going to stamp my cat. Just give it a good press. With the Post-it notes, it's very thin paper, and you're not going to get any shadowing or missed lines, which is really nice. So now what I'm going to do is take my kitty cat, and I'm going to put it over the cat, and I'm going to, the polymer stamps like to stick to everything. I'm going to stamp up my stocking. Yes, they do stick to everything, so if you seem to be missing something, look at anything that has, like, you know, plastic. And I'm going to stamp my stocking on. So now what I can do is remove my cat Post-it note, remove my hat Post-it note, and I have a beautifully stamped image. I do keep baby wipes handy. I have notoriously, if there's red, black, or blue involved, I'm in it, or it's on me. So now I want to stamp my present and my sentiment. So I'm just going to move my, actually I'm going to take away.
Did you just touch this without cleaning?
Yeah, I know. I did an oops. I touched a stamp set without cleaning it, and I'm going to ensure I clean my fingers so I don't have a mess next time. Just in case you haven't cleaned your stamps properly and there's some residue, and trust me, it does happen, go back to your test page or the grid paper on your stamparatus and place your stamps. Let's just put this more in the middle this time, you know, because we can, and we have the room. And one thing that's great about the grid paper is you can line up the stamps so that they're perfectly straight on the paper. Actually, I'm going to remove this for now. I'm going to pick up my sentiment, and I'm going to line up my present here. And I'm going to use my Simply Chamois to clean my plate and my stamp, so when I pick it up, I haven't got black fingers. The Simply Chamois is great for cleaning stamps, the plates, your fingers.
Yeah.
So now I have my present down in the place where I want it to be. I'm going to put my plate in, and I'm going to pick it up. So now I'm ready to put my paper back in. Since I'm going to be stamping up here and down here, I'm going to put my magnet across the kitty cat like so. Because I have the black Memento ink open, I'm going to use that one first. So I'm going to ink up my gift. And I'm going to stamp, give it a little rub. You don't need to be strong-handed with it. put that there for now. The sentiment I'm doing in Cherry Cobbler Red. Check the fingers. Check them afterwards. I'm going to close this up so I am not redding everything. I do have some red on my stamparatus. I can take a Kleenex or something and get the excess off, just in case. I think I might want to move it down just a hair, or move the paper up just a hair, because I just kind of thought maybe I need a little bit more white space. So with the stamparatus, you just lift up your magnet, shift your paper if you want. That's a better position. So then I'm going to give it a press. Don't be too heavy-handed with rubbing on it, because if you rock the stamp or put too much pressure on, you're going to get squishy, squishy effect. So now we're done with our little piece here. So I'm going to ask Lisa if she can clean my stamps for me so we don't get all icky. We're going to do some coloring on this today. And I'm going to use my Stampin' Blends. I love these markers. They have a narrow tip and a wide tip. The wide tip's used for a lot of fill-in, the narrow tip for fine-tune or easy or precise coloring. So I'm going to color the bow. I think she just got inked.
No, I was testing the drying time of the crystal effects, and I put the stamparatus right on top of it.
That's okay.
So I'll have to redo that.
So I'm going to color the bow and the ribbon. I'm going to color the hat in the red. And we're going to use a product on the white fur band on his hat and his pom-pom on his hat. But we're going to do at the very end that effect. And I'm going to turn this so it's easier for me to color. I'm going to do the band here. And the band here. And this color is dark real red. Oops. Sorry, cap. So the dark real red. The stocking, I'm going to color the top portion and the bottom portion with my light old olive. I'm going to use the fine tip. And color in. And color in this little rick-rack. Do the same down here. And I'm going to do the toe. You know your stamps are clean when they squeak.
Do you want this present on a block?
Yes, please. Okay. And then with my light mossy meadow, one of my favorite colors, I'm going to color in the body of the stocking. It's just a shade darker and just a slight difference in shade, color. And I'm using the brush tip. And when you first color with it, it kind of looks streaky, but it does blend in. And if you don't like it, you can go over afterwards and just blend it in. For the cat body and face and mitts, I'm going to use light crumb cake. I'm going to use the brush point, and I'm using the dark crumb cake, and I'm going to use the fine tip point, and I'm going to color in the area. This is my technique. There's so many out there. I'm going to color in the area where I want to apply the dark. And I just kind of roughly color. I don't want it like a solid perfect line. And then I'm going to take my light crumb cake again and just go over that and sort of swirl it into the center. and the colors will bleed. It takes a few minutes. By the time we're done coloring and the next little thing we're going to do, it will be perfect. And you can always go back and touch it up if you... Oh, we forgot the paws. Oh dear. Our kitty has white paws. So let's do the paws. Like plum cake. And then a bit of dark. And then just... I always seem to forget something when I'm coloring, and I go back and go, oh yes. For the gift, I'm going to take a scrap of DSP. People say, why do I save these little bits? And well, this is one good reason, is you can make now a decorated gift. And good old wet wipes. I'm going to take my gift. I've now put it on a block. I'm going to stamp it on the DSP. It doesn't matter if it's not a complete stamp. You can see it's a little missed here. That's okay, because what we're going to do is we're going to cut around the gift, almost chopping that line off. And what I did is I chopped the bow off. Let me just get rid of this and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Is where the bow dips into the gift. I'm going to cut this out while I have a big piece to deal with, because if it's a small piece I'm hanging on to, it's a little awkward. So now I've got a little dip in the bow. I'm going to cut the bottom off. If I'm doing a mass production or many cards, I will leave the gift like this, because there is a definite left and right to the gift, but I'm only doing one card right now, so I'm going to cut the right side off, and then I'm going to cut the middle strip out, and I'm going to make sure I have nothing on me. I'm going to take my Tombow glue, and I'm going to take my multi-purpose tool and my putty, and I'm going to pick up my DSP, because trust me, I get glued everywhere if I don't use something like this. Oh, thank you. You know I'm going to dip, right?
Yeah.
So, and I can use this to help position, and with the Tombow glue, it takes about 30 to 40 seconds before it's set, so you have time to wiggle it around and in place. You don't want to put a lot of glue on. Just a little, you can barely see it, just a little dab. If you do have excess glue and it leaks out beside your DSP, you can take your chamois and just dab it, and it picks up the excess glue, and you don't get that shiny glue residue left over.
I actually didn't know that.
So now, she's really making sure I don't mess up. So now we have our front of our card together. We're going to use the shimmery glittery effect on this, but we're going to do this once we have the whole card assembled, because it does take some time to dry.
I'm timing it.
We're testing the time, so we'll see. So I'm going to glue my DSP. Just move this out of the way.
So for those of you who don't know what DSP is, it's a short form for designer series paper. And designer series paper typically is double-sided.
So we have this side, which is what we used for the gift, and we have our pretty side that I'm using today, and I like it because it's got, they look like Boston Terriers to me, and my Boston Terrier owns me, so.
Yes, he does.
You know,
he wears the pants in the family.
I have a little bit of glue leaking out, so what I would do is, yep, take my chamois.
Aren't you worried about getting ink though?
Nope, nope. And I just take the edge of the chamois and I just tap.
Oh, who knew? Okay.
And the glue's gone. Now I will rinse out my chamois after I've done some cards, just so that the glue doesn't dry in the chamois. And I have a piece of paper.
Do you want those?
Oh, I just stuck it under. So now I'm going to glue my Santa paws down. You don't need a lot of glue. and not so close to the edge so that it leaks out. And like I said, you've got some time to wiggle it around. If it's slightly crooked, you can move it and just give it a little press. So the front of the card is complete. Well, almost. So on the inside of our card, because it's red and you really can't see it very well, we're going to take our 4 by 5¼ paper. I'm going to use my stamparatus again because I have a long sentiment to go in the center, and it makes life easier.
Oh, do you want this one?
See, here's a shadowing because the stamp wasn't fully cleaned, and that would have been on my paper instead of here. So we're going to get our plate. So it's 4 by 5¼ So I want it about 2 inches down and in the center of 4. So between here and here. So I'm going to line it up on the lines. Like I said, the photopolymer likes to stick to everything, including fingernails. So I've got about a 1/2 inch here, about a 1/2 inch here, and oh, just messed it up again. Okay, why are you being so sticky? Okay, perfect. I'm going to pick it up. I can always check if it's straight by seeing the grid lines in my stamparatus plate to see if it's in the grid line straight. Or I can use this technique as well. I'm going to get red. And before I open the red, I'm going to get my paper. And I said about 2 inches down. So if I line it up on this corner is where I started measuring. I'm going to put my magnet down here. Now I'm going to open my red. You want to tap your stamps. You don't want to have, I'll put it close on. Oh no, leave it open. We got to do the envelope. Okay. So I can, before I press it down, I can make sure I'm in the right position. If I wanted to say maybe move my paper up a bit, I can at this point. I'm not touched the paper, so I haven't got any marks. And I'm just going to press it down, give it a light rub, and I have a beautiful stamped image. So that's the inside of the card. I can also, and I'm going to use the little candy cane, and I'm just going to get my cherry cobbler, and I'm going to stamp right here on the corner. Cute. I'm going to put that aside for a second. And while I have the cherry cobbler out, I'm going to do my envelope.
Do you want an envelope?
Yes, thank you. I forgot to bring an envelope. I'm going to stamp my envelope because we can't have a naked envelope. So the stamparatus is a great tool. It lines up your stamps for multiple positioning of many stamps. It keeps things straight. I did 12 of these cards today, so I did like an assembly line, and I knew everyone was going to be very, very close to being identical. Thank you. Yeah. So on my envelope, I always open the flap. So if I'm stamping an image, say up in the near the flap, I don't have like a ledge that could interfere with how the stamp would. And I'm going to put a candy cane here. I'm going to turn it around. I always like to do my flaps. And I'm going to put one like so. And one like so. So that's my envelope done. I'll just put that aside. I'm going to fully assemble this card and then do the crystalline shimmer effects because it takes some time to dry. And we're timing it for you, and we will post the time it takes to dry in average conditions. Depending on the humidity and heat in your house, it could be shorter, longer.
Yeah, how much you use.
How much you use. So we're done. I'm not going to fold the card yet, so I can do the shimmering effects. So you want to shake it down so that it's like a glue, so it goes into the tip. You also want to take maybe a piece of scrap paper and just see before you start. See, it had like an air bubble, and I don't know if you can see, not so well on this paper, just so that you know you've got it started. So I'm going to do the hat. I'm just going to put a ball there. And the band of the hat, I'm going to do like lines, like decorating a cake. And I kind of warped here a bit. And I filled in. So this has glitter in it, and it does become quite glittery once it dries. It goes a little bit clearer than this, just because of the glue. So this is the card we've done today, and I'd like to thank Lisa for having me, and I've enjoyed the weekend cards making and stamping with Stampin' Up.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.